Hey guys, welcome to my channel. I'm JeanTheCoder. If you guys are new to my channel, I pretty much do LeetCode style questions, and I try to explain things in the simplest way possible. And today we have a very interesting problem, so let's get into it. It says given two sorted arrays, right? Nums1 and nums2, merge nums2 into nums1 as one sorted array. Okay. You're telling us to just merge the two arrays together, right? Inside of nums1. And it says the number of elements initialized in nums1 and nums2 are m and n, right? So m is going to let us know that how many numbers are initialized in nums1, right? N is going to let us know how many numbers are initialized in nums2. It says we may assume that nums1 has a size equal to m plus n, right? Such that it has enough space to hold additional elements from nums2, right? So pretty much they're telling us that, nums1 is going to have enough space to hold all the numbers in nums1, all the numbers in nums2, right? So that's good information to know. So let's see this problem. So we see nums1, right? The one big array, right? Yeah, so it has space for the additional three numbers that are included in nums2, right? So there's enough space to hold all the numbers, all right? So yeah, so we need to find a way to merge them together, right? They're both already sorted, right? That's important, right? They're already sorted, so that kind of makes our lives easier, right? So yeah. So guys, the way we're gonna solve this problem, right, is that we're gonna have a couple pointers, right? So we're gonna have a one pointer pointing at this index, right? At the last element. So we're gonna have two index, right? One pointing at the last element that's initialized in nums1, right? And nums2 is gonna have a pointer, right, that points to the last element of nums2, right? And then we're gonna introduce this other pointer, right? It's gonna be pointing to the very last spot of nums1, right? Because, right, it's gonna point to the last spot because, right, we need to populate. So we're gonna put all the bigger numbers on there because if, to merge them together, right? All the bigger an array that's already sorted, right? All the numbers get bigger as you go to the right. The numbers get smaller as you go to the left, right? So we're gonna populate the array with all the big numbers, put them in the back, right, and then work our way downwards, right, by going to this. We fill up this spot, and then we go to this spot, then we go to that spot, right. So that's gonna be this other guy's job, right, to do that, right. So and then remember, like I said, right, we got two pointers, right, already pointing at the elements. That's gonna help us make comparisons between the two, right. So at every iteration, right, we're gonna check. Initially, we're gonna check 3 and 6, right. Which one's bigger? 6 is bigger, so we populate this spot with 6 with the guy that's pointing to that spot, right? So that's kind of how the algorithm is going to work. So I'm going to go through a couple of examples with you guys, and I think it'll be a lot more clear, right? So let's go ahead and paste this example. So this example is pretty much the given example, right? So I just put that here for simplicity, right? So let's get into it, right? So we got the two arrays, right? So we got nums1, right? 1, 2, 3, 0, 0, 0, right? And nums2, 2, 5, 6, right? So we got so like I told you guys, right, it's going to be pointing to the last element that's initialized, right? Okay. And then we got this other pointer called index, right? That points to the last element of nums1, right? Last element in nums1, pretty much, right? And now, guys, the way we're going to go about solving this, right, we're going to, every iteration, right, we're going to do comparison, right, between the number that I is pointing at, right, and then the number that J is pointing at, right? So with that in mind, right, we're going to do, so let's go through an example, right? We check out of 3 and 6, right, which one's bigger, right? 6 is bigger, right? So now the last element in the array got to be the biggest number out of the two, right? So 6 is the biggest number out of both arrays, right? Yeah, 2. So we populate that with 6, right? And then since we just use 6, right, we need to decrement J to go on to the other the number to the other number, all right, to the next number, right? Because, right, we just used 6, so we need to go on to the next one. So we also need to decrement index pointer, right? Because we just populated this index already, so that's already taken care of, right? So now we do the same thing, right? We check that this index, right, which one's bigger out of 5 and 3, right? 5 is bigger, right? So we populate that with 5, right? This gets updated, and then we decrement this index to go on to the next one, right? So now J is pointing at 2, right? And 3 is still pointing at 3, right? So now 3 is bigger now, right? So index also gets decremented. I forgot about that. All right, it gets decremented as well, right? And then we do the comparison, right? We check out of 3 and 2, which one's bigger? 3 is bigger, right? So we populate that with 3. All right, and finally, I gets to move to go on to the next number, right? And then we do the same thing, right? And we have to decrement index as well, right? To fill up the next spot, right? Since those things have already been taken care of, right? So we're set. So right now we do the same comparison, right? We out of 2 and 2, which one is bigger? 2, right? We could choose either one, right? Let's just choose I, right? So let's populate that with 2, right? And then decrement I, right? Right, and then decrement index as well, right? To go into that number, right? And then now you check out of 1 and 2, which one's bigger, right? 2 is bigger, so we populate that with 2. It's already 2, so we straight. And then the J, right? J goes out of bounds, and then we exit out of the while loop, right? And then magically, look at this, right? The array is sorted, right? So we're all set. So we just return and we are set, right? So this other example, right? There's an edge case to it. So I chose this example because there's a good example. There's a good edge case involved. So we do the same thing, right? We keep doing comparisons, right? And then so we check out of 6 and 5. 6 is bigger, right? 6 is bigger. So we decrement I, right? To go on to the next number. And then we decrement J to go on to the next number as well, right? All right, and then we do the same thing, right? We do out of 5 and 3, 5 is bigger, right? And then we decrement I, right? To go on to that number, and then we check index, right? It's decremented as well, right? So we need to fill up that spot. So we check out of 4 and 3, which one's bigger? 4 is bigger, right? And then I goes out of bounds, right? So now we would exit out this while loop, but there's still numbers to be processed out of nums2, right? So that's why we're gonna have this slash check that's gonna let us know, that's gonna let us populate all the remaining numbers in nums2, right? So since the stuff already sorted, right? And index right now is pointing at this index, right? So now this is easy. We just do a loop backwards until J goes out of bounds and we exit out the loop, right? So we keep doing that. So 3 gets updated, and we move J one step down, right? And then this one goes down as well, right? And then I can fill up that spot with 2, whichever J's pointing at, right? 2, right? And J gets decremented as well. Nope. All right, and then we do we decrement index as well, right? And then we populate that one, boom. All right, just like that, the array is sorted, guys. So this algorithm is very good. It uses different pointers, right? And you see how you can manipulate stuff. And yeah, so let's go ahead and implement the code that I promised. All right, so we're gonna have this pointer, right, called, let's call it I. It's gonna point to the last element that's initialized in nums1, right? So n-1, right? And then one called nj, right? It's pointing to the element of n-1, right? Again, and then I told you guys we're gonna introduce this other pointer, right, called index. It's gonna point to the last element, right, which is gonna be at index m plus n, right, -1, because it's 0 based, right? So it'll be all the elements added together, right, out of both arrays, right, 1, 2, and 3, 2, 5, and 6, right? That's 6 minus 1, right? And that's why it's pointing at 5, because the index or 0 base, right? Exactly. So yeah. So now that we have that now, guys, the next thing we gotta do now is we're gonna do this check while I is greater than 0, right? Greater than 0, right? And J greater than 0, right? Before they go out of bounds, right? So we're gonna keep doing this comparisons every time, every iteration, right? While they're still in place, right? So now we're gonna check while if nums of 1, right? Nums1 of I, right, is smaller than nums2, whichever J's pointing at, right? Then what we're gonna do, we're gonna populate whichever spot the index pointer is pointing at, right? With that with nums2's number, because since num2 is bigger, right? So that's important, guys. So now we're gonna do J minus minus to decrement it to go on to the next number, and then also we're gonna do index minus minus as well, right? To go on to the next available spot for that needs to be filled out, right? So now that we have that, guys, the next thing that we need to worry about now is do the same thing, right? So if nums 1's bigger, right? We're gonna do I, right? Index. So we're gonna populate that with whichever I with the I pointer pointing at, right? So same process. So on one of I, right? And then we decrement I, and then we're gonna decrement the index as well, right? Index, okay? So now that we decremented both, right? So I told you guys the last check that I gotta do is while the what's it called? While j, right? There's still numbers in nums2 to be processed. We need to have this while loop, right? For while nums j is greater than 0, right? We're gonna keep populating the stuff, right? Well, with all of the numbers in nums2, right? That didn't get filled out yet. So do that, and then we decrement j minus minus, right? And then we decrement index minus minus, right? Yeah, guys, this is the same way to So this is a very, very important algorithm to know. So let's check, see if we pass all the test cases. All right, looks like we passed that test case. Let's check if we pass all the test cases. All right, awesome, guys. We were able to pass all the test cases. Yeah, guys, I want to thank you guys for taking the time to watch this video. If I did a pretty good job at explaining this problem, explaining the thought process, and solving it, give me a like and also subscribe if you guys are new to my channel. I will be uploading other videos like this. So yeah, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.